I said as training camp was beginning to, come to the closing days, that the one thing I noticed, this group, they genuinely like being around each other. And that's a sign of a locker room getting close. And I also made a statement, at adverse moments, you'll find out what your team is all about. So right now, you have, the players have 4 days, and they're going to sit there and they're going to think about a lot of things and assess, what can I do? What can I do to help this thing move forward? I thought Freddie's message to the team the last 2 days has been excellent about moving this thing forward, about looking yourself in the mirror. And it's always good sometimes to look yourself in the mirror and say, what can I do to make myself better and the Cleveland Browns better?
This portion of More Sports and Les-Levine brought to you by Northeast Factory Direct, northeastfactorydirect.com. Jim Ingraham with us. Jim, is the bloom coming off the rose here on John Dorsey? Because it looked like everything he did was right, and everybody said in Dorsey we trust. All of a sudden, maybe not so much.
Well, I would even include Kitchens and Mayfield in that triumvirate. I mean, all three of those guys were golden boys coming into the season, and now we're 6 games into the season, and maybe all of a sudden Mayfield's not maybe the franchise quarterback, and Kitchens is not everything that they thought he was going to be, and some of Dorsey's moves have not worked out the way they were supposed to work out. The team he's built to this point is just not very good. I mean, presumably it'll get better, but we don't know. But
so how does that happen? We thought it was a great draft. He made some trades. Everybody thought Odell-Beckham and all that. And yet now you get into the point where freddie-kitchens, who kind of went hand in hand with Baker-Mayfield last year, part of the reason that Freddie is still here today at the top of the heap. Yet, how is it that they all, I don't want to say fall apart, but I can't think of a better choice of words.
Yeah, I think what Kitchens said the other day about them not being a team, they're a group. He called them a group instead of a team.
Right.
I think there's something to that, and I think the coach can become an easy target in the locker room for the players if things start bad, and especially a rookie coach and a lot of new players that are just being exposed to Kitchens for the first time. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, and those of us on the outside don't really have a feel for that, but it just looks to me like the whole thing is just a group. They're not a team.
All right, so let's go back to that. Beckham, was Beckham testing Freddie the first couple of weeks with the earring, with the watch, with all that stuff, or was he just being Beckham?
I don't think he was testing Freddie. I think he was testing the league, or just him being himself. Just some guys need to constantly call attention to themselves, and
right.
when he's not able to do that with his sensational catches, he's got other devices that he can do to get the cameras on him, and which is fine as long as you're producing. And to this point he's not, and I don't think it's necessarily all his fault, because you got to throw him the ball once in a while, but there's nothing. Again, I go back to, there's no phase of the operation right now that is above average, and it's hard to,
except for running game.
Except for, Chubb has been terrific. But the rest of it is just, they seem like they're just plugging holes in the dike all the time.
And also, it's early in the year, so you haven't gotten, if this is going to turn out to be a bad year, you haven't gotten to that part yet, which means it's going to get worse.
Well, yeah, except for on paper, again, the schedule gets considerably easier based on the opponents in the second half. Now, if this continues 2 or 3 games into that portion and they're still looking like this, then there's some serious soul searching that has to go on about what's going on here.
Do you expect trades here, a little frustration on the front office, and something might happen during this bye week?
Yeah, I mean, I would say frustration. I'd say urgency to improve the line. I mean, those rumors about Trent Williams, I mean, that should be a legitimate target for them.
Except he hasn't played a game in 3 seasons.
Well, neither is Greg Hubbard or Greg Robinson.
And they're starting.
Yeah. So
hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got. I mean, it
but they don't cost as much as Williams will.
That's true. Yeah, but I thought it was, Dorsey. It's good that he came out yesterday and spoke about all this, because general managers need to come out when things are going bad, for that very reason.
The Indians are very good at that.
Yeah, they're going all the way back to John Hart and Antonetti and Dan O'Dowd. All those guys would always be out there to take the arrows and whatever you want to say when the team is going bad. But Dorsey did what general managers do, which is basically to say, everybody relax. This is not as bad as it seems. I know we're 2-4, but
I'll let you know when it's as bad as it seems.
Yeah. We got. I really like Freddie. I really like Baker. This team is really coming together, even though it doesn't look like it on the field.
Well, he has to say Freddie is his man and Baker is his man, because those are the two biggest choices he made in that position.
Yeah. And in the timeline of these kinds of things, when it ends up bad at the end, there's no middle ground for the general manager. He'll keep talking about those guys like that until the day that he starts making dramatic changes, because it wasn't the way he thought it would be.
No, those particular positions, quarterback with Baker Mayfield and head coach with Freddie Kitchens, you don't ease into that. If you're going to make a change, you just make a change.
Yeah. I mean, Dorsey, Kitchens, and Mayfield are the three most important individuals in the organization right now. And if they're not performing or producing the way as expected, you're not going to have a winning team.
All right, so is Beckham the fourth one in that chain? Because it seems to me, and I don't understand the quarterback position enough, I see it like all of us watch it, it seems to me like Baker Mayfield is forcing the ball into Beckham. Is there anything to that?
I mean, there could be, and there's nothing wrong with that, because he's shown that he's good on one-on-one matchups of just wrestling the ball away from defenders. But think back to last year. That offense looked the way it looked without Beckham. So, it's not like if he doesn't do it, it's not going to get done. They've got some other weapons, and, Kareem Hunt is still not playing yet, so how that changes the flow, who knows? But, I think Beckham's the focal point, understandably so. This was a functioning, productive offense last year without him, and something has been lost in the translation from Kitchens as a play caller last year to Kitchens as a head coach and play caller this year.
What might have happened is Hollywood Higgins, why he wasn't in the lineup or somewhere on the field.
That didn't bother me as much as the explanation for why that was so, because the exact same explanation would have held for Callaway in going into the 49ers game.
Before, yeah.
He was only back for a week, and the same thing applied to Higgins.
Yeah, but you would think both guys are not equal. Just because one guy struggled doesn't mean the next guy's going to struggle.
Yeah, right. And I mean, and Higgins was the one guy that a guy at least that Baker seemed to have a good chemistry with last year, and I still don't think there's any chemistry between him and Beckham.
No, not yet. 2-1.